Alright, so we're up to level 2 now for Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars. This is going to change your world if you've never used these concepts. We're going to look at extended chords, like 7th chords. We're even going to look at a 9 chord. And then we're also going to study something called secondary dominance. So using a secondary dominant is looking at the chord that's coming up in the next measure. So for example, we started with our 1 chord, right? Our C. Then what was the next chord we were going to go to? Our F chord, right? So check this out. A secondary dominant is gonna create a little bit of tension. It's gonna go outside of the key of C. It's gonna use the 5/7 chord of the chord that we're going to, which in this case is gonna be F. So what's the 5th of F? Well, we have our F note right here. 5th is gonna be a C. So that means we're gonna play a C7 chord. We could do that there, we could do it here, right? We have another shape up here. So let's focus on this position down here. The C7 shape we're gonna use is this one right here. We're muting the 2nd string with our 3rd finger. So check this out. So now we're creating some tension right here. This chord wants to pull to the F right there. This is one of the strongest forces in music. The 5/7 chord pulling to its tonic, which is F. And you'll have to experiment around with this as far as the voicing. What do I mean by voicing? Well, we have 1, 3, 7. This is called a closed triad. It's shell voicing. There's no 5 in here. Down here, we did have a 5. That's our 5 right there. The voicing is different. A little bit of inversion. It's more spread out. We have the singing voice on top right there. And this is going to pull to... We're going to play a 7 chord right here. We're going to go from playing our regular F major to the 7. We create the 7 by playing the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And why don't we get a little bit of embellishment going on here too, with the singing melody. And then we could go to our C major 7. Now we're getting a little bit jazzy, alright? There we go. So what we looked at, just our basic triad in the beginning, C major triad. Pretty neat, huh? So what about if we play that in a different position? Okay, well, how about this position over here? We had this here, and then we went to our C7 chord, which is our secondary dominant, to our F chord. Hey, the singing voice, the G, happens to be in the top section of this chord too. That works perfectly. Now what about playing this? How do we play an F major 7 chord up here? Well, remember the A shape? We just have to flatten the extra 1 right here to the major 7. And there we go. We have that there. And then we can go C major 7 right here as well. So there's another method of playing it. We had... Notice that little embellishment I did there as well. There's going to be little ways we can embellish, and I'll show you more of those as we get into the final advanced section. This is kind of like the intermediate level right here. Level 3 is going to be a lot more advanced. So we're taking big stepping stones here because I want to teach you the most useful concepts and techniques in jazz right here. And then we had... Okay, now let's look at something else. Check this out. We have in the F chord, F, A, C. There is another chord that has 2 of the same notes. For example, D minor. Okay, we have D, F, A. F and A are in F major. So what about changing it to a 6th chord, a D minor? We could totally do that. That's something really cool. So instead of going, now I'm going to go D minor 7, and I'm going to do a little embellishment here. Alright? Hammer in, hammer on right there. And how you achieve that 7, the minor 7, is by, you have your A minor shape brought up to D minor, but now I'm going to take off my pinky to play the C note on the 3rd string. Alright, so that's D minor. And now check this out. I'm going to work backwards a little bit here. Because I want to do D minor, well, hey, if we do a secondary dominant before that, what's going to be the 5th of D? It's going to be A right here. So what if I play, instead of that C major 7, for the last note, or the last beat of the last bar, little star. How about I play an A7 with that on top? Here's one way to play an A7. And then I can conveniently place my singing voice on top, which G happens to be the 7th, the flat 7th, which is in the dominant 7th chord. And that pulls to the D minor. So now what we have is this. Pretty interesting. And that pulls to that. Oh, I did a chromatic passing chord there. And what's this chord I'm playing? Good question. I'm going to go to my 5 chord in the next measure. So I'm going to play a D dominant chord, a D7 chord now. I have the shell voicing, and then I have the singing melody right here. All together, the singing melody happens to be the 2nd, the D7 chord. So that becomes, we have the 1, the 3, the major 3rd, flat 7th, and then the 9th. This is a D9 chord right here. Fun fact. And try that. Try a little chromatic passing chord. Super jazzy. Okay, so there's a cool method right there, because that is going to pull into, I'm going to make a G7 chord next, because that G, if I make that the secondary dominant of C, it's going to sound really cool. It's like pulling to the C chord right there. Pretty tense, and then that release is really nice too. So what do we have? We had pretty neat. So that's level 2 right there for you. Taking a look at chord extensions and secondary dominants. The art of cycling fifths, because you notice something here. We went from pulling from the A7, which is the 5th of D, and then we went from that D minor to D7, which pulled to G, and then we anticipated the G pulling to C, so we made that a dominant 7, to finally go home to C. That G7 chord right there is achieved because we have our G major right here using the E shape, right? And then we flatten flat 7 right here by taking off our pinky on the 4th string. That's an F note. That's going to be our 7th, our flat 7th. Singing voices right there conveniently. And then right there. So that's level 2 for you.